Now, if the tissue is like this, and then all the scar tissue goes round, it can't do that. So what happens is the scar tissue.
Edo, welcome to a special edition of the No Choff Des podcast. I'm your host, Stel, and joining me is a very, very special guest, a gentleman who I've known for a couple of years. He is, how can I describe you there, mate? You're a sports performance expert. I love that word, expert. Some people don't like it. You know, you're a high performance specialist, Mr. Lee Taylor. How you doing?
I'm very well, Stel. I'm very well, mate. Thanks for having me on today. It's been a long time. Been watching your pods. It's been fantastic with all your different genre of people that you come on every week, which is great. So it's great to be here, mate. And I'm looking forward to this evening and reaching out to your audience.
Thank you very much. Well, before we start talking about the main topic of discussion, because this is an Omonoia podcast, and we're going to talk about the two major injuries that we've got so far this season. We've had a lot of injuries this season, and I'm sure we can delve into that in a bit. But tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, because our listeners will be intrigued to hear that you worked at Liverpool with Rafa Benitez, didn't you?
Yeah, that's just one of the chapters of the book, should we say. We're nearly into 30 years now. Two Premier League clubs, abroad, EFL clubs, so World Cups, Olympic Games, so all sorts of bits and pieces. You just stay grounded and you just do your job. It doesn't matter if you're in League Two, if you're in the Premier League, if you're at Olympic Games or a World Cup, or you're dealing with World Cup players every day, and you're dealing with Premier League players every day for personal clients like myself, which I've got at the moment here. It doesn't matter. It's all the same, mate. It doesn't matter. We're all human beings at the end of the day, and we all need looking after. It's just some people with a little bit more money than us.
Very true. Very true. So what would you say your expertise is? What, strength and conditioning, rehabilitation, or you...
I think when I started, we started off as therapists with the FA, sports therapists, with physiotherapists then, and then they kind of they chopped and changed things a little bit, and then we had to do everything. We had to be. There wasn't clubs now. You have a physio, you have a doctor, you have a physio, you have about 3 physios at some places. You have sports therapists, you have masseurs, sports scientists. We have our internship, and we also have the other side, which is the kind of stuff that you do, really. So that kind of because you talk about it all the time, didn't you? We have the people that do the analysis.
Oh, right.
That's what you talk about.
No.
Even though you're not an analytics. So what I'm trying to say is you've got all that now. Back in the day, it was just me. So you have to evolve, and then you have to evolve with the game. The game's changed so much, and then you kind of like just move with things, and you have to do another qualification, and you have to do this and that. So it's kind of like I've kind of made my own little genre, and I kind of like I've got an umbrella now. I go in as head of performance. So if there's a physio in situ, I don't get involved in that. So I will get involved in kind of like the physical aspect of athlete performance and nutrition and kind of like their welfare, well-being and all that sort of stuff. But then other clubs you go in, and then I'd be in control of the whole umbrella. So it's all different to where you go and the club that you go to. But that's kind of just what I do now. Obviously, a UEFA coach as well. So being from the old school coming in now, I've got everything. So it's kind of like I can go into anything that I wish to do. That's why I seem to go abroad quite a lot. And it's strange. 1 minute I'm here, next minute I'll be in Tahiti taking the Fijian team in the Oceania Champions League, which we didn't win a game because we were useless. So but that's another kettle of fish. I was only with them a day. But all seriousness, yeah, you just roll with it. And I've had a great lifestyle and a great career so far, and lots of years to come. And yeah, it's good. It's good. You meet a lot of people. I've worked with the best players in the world. I look after probably the best players in the UK who Man City.
Can you name drop? And the reason why I'm asking this is because on this podcast we've had World Cup winner and Stefan Reuter, we had Zé Elias, the Brazilian midfielder who played for Omonoia. We've had so many former players.
I know you have. I know you have.
So, but to have you on, you're like the creme de la creme of S&C.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but the sort of people that I was with in the Indian Super League were in my team. My captain was Johan Capdevila, who was the Spanish left back who won the World Cup in 2010. Miguel Garcia, Sporting Lisbon, Ronaldo's mate. He was there 10 years with him. Del Piero.
You've done S&C. You've looked after them from a physical.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Del Piero was at Delhi Dynamos, so obviously we see each other, but I didn't look after it. But they're the sort of people that are in our community and in our fraternity, because when you're there, when you're playing, they're always staying at your hotel. But then we have the Greek World Cup goalkeeper. Don't ask me to tell you.
Nicobolidis.
Huh?
Nicobolidis.
No, it begin with TH. This one. I can send you a picture. In a minute. He always loved a cigar. That's all I know. But he was at the World Cup 2010 with the Greek team. He was top man. So he was my goalkeeper. And then we had Capdevila, we had Miguel Garcia, we had numerous Brazilians, we had Portuguese, Brazilians, we had New Zealand internationals, we had a very, very fat, and I mean fat, Colombian international he couldn't speak a word of English, right? But he was the nicest fella in the world, and all he wanted to do was drink Coca-Cola and eat hamburgers, right? And he used to prance about in his room with his pants on and look like Elvis. Right? So he was brilliant. And I had to learn a bit of Spanish, and I had to learn a bit of Spanish because he didn't speak no English at all. But to give you that was the kind of thing. There was Mikel Silvestri, there was Johan Arisa, the players over there. Freddie Lundberg, Robert Perez was still absolutely running the show. By the way, Robert Perez was ledge. There was everyone over there, mate, and it was great. You know, it was really great.
And what about Liverpool? What was that experience like at Liverpool with Benitez and Gerrard and Torres and all those players?
Yeah, I mean, it was very, very surreal because obviously there was two training grounds. There's Melwood, and then you had the academy area, which was at I think was it Kirby?
Kirby, that rings a bell.
Phenomenal place, unbelievable. I mean, the trouble with it was so tight knit that it was ridiculous. It was, you had to, as the old cliche, jobs for the boys. You had to know someone to get a job there back then, you know. Right. And I was very fortunate that when I went and played in America, I was at Knutsford Services, and we had to go to this place, and then to meet the kind of like the team when we went to America, and we went out there, and this Scouser come in, and I hated him straight away, and he hated me straight away, and then I think we were 18 or 19 then, and I think we was 18, and he's been my best mate and my best man, and I've been his mentor with it. But he was at Liverpool in the same youth team as Carragher and all the boys. So, and he was there from 9 till he was 22, and then he went with the academy, and then he went all head coaching and all stuff, and then I just went with him, and then that was that really, and that's how I kind of got in there with that. And then all of a sudden Paul Ince Young Thomas Ince was on loan from Liverpool to Notts County, and Paul was the manager. And then all of a sudden, I got a call, and I ended up at the first team head of performance at Notts County with Paul Ince.
Nice.
And then from there, it kind of like went bang, and that was 2010.
Wow.
So yeah, but it's been a hell of a lot in between then, and you know, your ups and downs in football. Nothing's smooth for these supporters. But they think everything's a roller coaster.
And you've got a hell of a lot of stories, and you've told me a couple of them. And even
we've had
to
a
this
few
day,
on them pods, haven't we? We've had a few on them pods.
That story with Rio Coca, oh my God! Even to this day, I tell my mates, and I'm like, they cry. We'll talk about that another day. I'm sure we got time for that.
No, we got time for that another day, mate.
But look, there's two. Okay, so just to give you a bit of background, last season Omonoia won the league title. We had Leonidas Babadakis as the head of strength and conditioning, and for whatever reason, he left the club. People say that he wanted more money for a salary. He wanted more money to improve the training facilities, to make it more, I don't know, is the word user-friendly or updated? Whatever reason, he left the club. A new fella came in. Within a month, he was gone. Players were dropping like flies. Pre-season, there were injuries left, right, and centre. I seem to remember when Mick Clegg returned to Man United in the first couple of months, players again were dropping like flies, and then all of a sudden their stamina levels improved. Now, is it normal for a new S&C coach to come to a club and within 3 to 4 weeks, you've got players, 4, 5, 6, 7 players out injured before even the ball is kicked?
When you go to another club, Stel, you can't. If you're a manager and you go to another club and the team's not winning, but you got fit players, or have you got fit players, or haven't you got fit players? You have to look at systems, and you have to look at players, and you have to see if they're fit enough. You have to see if they're strong enough, and you have to know if they played for the manager before, or they tossed it off. That's the first thing. When you come in as a conditioning coach and the new manager brings you in, you've got a lot on your plate, because the physios and the medical team there might be their mate who's been sacked. So you might be ousted and you might be on your own. All right, but that's when you've got to have the kahunas to just crack on and set your stall out. First thing you've got to do is you've got to put some sessions on where we've got the experience to kind of assess and visualize the players, both in the gym and if they've been doing any gym, that is, and on the grass. So athletically and strength and power wise. And then you can kind of get a grip where you are. You can't go in and make wholesale changes straight away, because out of experience, it's like anything. If you go in and go crash bang wallop, players these days are fragile, they're weak, they run to their agents, they run to anyone, and they moan and they get in their little cliques. So what you need to do is you need to let them hang themselves, really. And you need to go, right, okay, we're doing this, we're doing that. And you think, oh, this is easy. And then we step it up. But sooner rather than later, you'll start to see little changes. And then you put little tests involved. Okay. And if you're clever, you can do the test without them knowing, really. Okay. So you know baseline of ages and kind of historically what they've done previous seasons, if you've got that data to back that up. So they're the sort of things you've got to be looking at to think, right, X, Y, and Z. I've got my top centre forward, I've got my spine and midfielder, I've got my midfielder, I've got my centre forward, I've got my 2 centre halves and my best players. Let's have a look at them. Then I will come and I'll befriend them, and then I'll start chatting to them. Say, come, let's go for a coffee and tell me about yourself, tell me about the boys. And you get to know them. And then sooner rather than later, they get to know you. They're not silly players. Some of them are thick as shit, but some of them are very clever, and they'll do the background checks on you. So, but it's about treating everyone the same, but managing people differently, and then finding out where their weaknesses are and where their positives are. Because 9 out of 10 times, them players, yeah, they could have been just pulling the wool over the manager's eyes because they didn't want to play for the manager. Who knows? Or they could have had serious problems. How good are your medical department? How strong are your medical department when they get problems? Can the players manipulate the medical department and go, because they're a big name, whatever the club they're in, they go, oh, I'm not training today. I've had that before. Players going, I ain't fucking training. I go, okay, mate, don't train. No problem. But we're here till 5 o'clock because you're not training. So don't think you're doing that and going home at 12 because you'll be here till 5 because you're not training. Come 1 o'clock, it's like, LT, I feel great now. I feel brilliant. I said, well, it's here till 5, son. And the next day they're training again. So you treat everyone the same, but you manage people differently. But it goes with everything. Players think they've got player power, but you need the right staff in and around you. And most time you have staff, which what you're saying with this man, I don't know him. I'm only surmising. He could have been the best person for the job. He could have been the best person for the job. Or, yeah, he could have had very high expectations and wanted everything there and then. Mate, I've been at clubs, yeah, where I've had zero. I've had absolutely nothing to work with. Nothing to work with. So the first thing I do when I go there is I use this and I use my brain and I go, right, go to the gym because we've got that. We go to the beach because I can work you on the beach, on the sand. And then we can go to the pool and I'm going to absolutely beast the bollocks out of you in the pool. And my teams are always fit as you like with zero soft tissue injuries because I hammer them all the time. Even the goalkeepers, they hate me. I don't care because I keep everyone on the pitch. But the thing is, everyone has to move with the times and evolve with the times. But that's how it is. So this guy's coming in. I don't know what the budget's like at the club, at your club that you're talking about. I haven't got a clue. But it doesn't matter if you're at Liverpool, Man United. We didn't have awesome things at Liverpool, but we had nice things, but we didn't have awesome things. Not that some League One clubs have got. We didn't have back then, you know. So, but we always had a fit team, and it doesn't matter where we are and what we do. So I've been to clubs that we didn't even have a training ground, you know, didn't even have a training. I've been abroad in countries we've just had nothing, and you just have to train, and you use this in your experience, and you always have a different session every day, and they love it, and we become strong. But at the end of the day, it's mental, and players these days are weak. They're weak as piss. And they want all the money, but they don't like hard work. And all they want to do is go on their phones and stick a little selfie on and tell everyone how hard they've worked today. And, oh, I scored a goal and it's good to win and all that. And the supporters go, yeah, we love you and all that. But at the end of the day, they haven't tried a leg in a week. But it's football, you know. It's football. It's everywhere. It's the same. Yeah.
Well, as I say, the new S&C coach came in and they're doing ergometric tests. Is that what they call them?
Fucking hell. You're talking telephone numbers. There's so many tests that people make up these days, I'm telling you. Everyone tries to reinvent the wheel.
That's what they were doing at the beginning. And then the club went on a pre-season to Poland. And I was looking at the social media because to be honest, the club only just started focusing a lot more on social media because they're obviously trying to move with the times. So when you're seeing players in pre-season, what they do, they take photographs of players on the training pitch, but they also start taking photos of the players in the gym. And I'm seeing a lot of training with resistance bands. Now, obviously, you know, that's part and parcel of gym these days. You know, I've got a friend that's a bodybuilder and he swears by these resistance bands. Fine, fair enough, whatever. But then I've seen a couple of players, one of them in particular, who we're going to discuss in just a moment. I see him in the gym with the resistance bands, but he hasn't kicked the ball yet, which makes me assume that even though he went on holiday and he came back to pre-season, did he pick up an injury during pre-season? But again, we'll talk about that in just a moment anyway. So what's the whole point of these resistance bands and why would that be important for training pre-season?
Bands ain't for pre-season. Bands are all year round. Bands, we've been using bands. Again, people try and reinvent the wheel, right? And everyone wants to use them. We've been using them for 15 years. And then all of a sudden they're becoming a fad and everyone wants to use them. But we've been using them for a long time, especially in the therapy sense. But now they've been used as, I would say I've been using them since 2010 for pre-activation. So obviously for any of my athletes, whether they're rugby, ice hockey, you name it, anything, football, before they do anything, they have to do their pre-activation, which is kind of like a pre-warm-up, which is it's a daily injury prevention circuit, really. What you're talking about, it's on my YouTube channel, so you can see it all on there.
I'll put the link in the description.
Yeah, it decreases the risk of injury a hell of a lot, because it's all neuromuscular exercise, and it's 10 minutes. It's 10 minutes out of your life. So it's more of a warm-up than anything. It's more of a warm-up. You can't keep using bands as a session, because that's just depending if it is an injury specific. If it's injury specific, where you can they can only use bands or use a cable or use some sort of apparatus like that, that's different. But for a fit player, that it's just a warm-up tool for an injury prevention and pre-activation, in my experience and in my opinion.
That's fair enough, because as I said, it was the first time we saw photographs being taken within a gym, but what the players were doing. So
they've been used, mate. Still, they've been used for years, mate. So it's if you go on some YouTube channel, you'll see them all the time, mate. It's very well documented and spoke about. So yeah, no, it's a good tool. It's a tool. It's not the be all and end all. It's a tool. That's all it is. It's a tool.
So again, going back to the old S&C coach, and I don't want to shit on him because he came in to do his own plan, but do you think it was a coincidence that he came in and straight away players started dropping like flies? I mean, the reason why I asked this is because you're obviously not aware of this, but the Cypriot season started 6 weeks ago, and my team have only played 4 games, so we've got a game in hand, but they've also been playing European qualifiers. So it started off with Champions League qualifier, then it went to Europa League qualifiers, and then straight away into Conference League. Yeah. So this season, right, while most clubs in Cyprus have played 4 or 5 league games, my team has played a total, if we include qualifiers, league campaign and a Super Cup, 13 games. So we've effectively gone half a league season already, if you think about it. But the players were dropping after the Super Cup. In fact, they were dropping after the second leg against Flora, which was the 3rd game, not including the 2 pre-season games. So the 3rd competitive game, that's when we started seeing players dropping like flies, and they were all muscular injuries as well, be it a hamstring tear, a 1 centimeter one, be it loads of things. But most of them were all,
Okay, so the first thing you got to look at is how long did the club give them off for their respite at the end of the season? How long did the club give them?
Season ended, was it May, June, July? When did they go back into training? Let me find out. Actually, I can find out the first time they had a training session. It was 23rd of June. 23rd of June they went back into training, as far as I'm aware.
So when did they finish? End of May? Start of May?
Mid-May.
Mid-May. So they haven't even had a month, have they? They've had probably 3.5, 4 weeks.
Yeah,
maybe.
But these are players that I think weren't competing at the Euros.
Okay.
Some players were in the Euros as well.
So who are the ones that were at the Euros? They wouldn't have had no rest. Yeah, which is poor. But that comes down to size of squads, and that comes down to rotation and management of the players, and the sports medicine department speaking to the performance, and the sports medicine department head of performance speaking to the manager, and kind of like the board, not so much the board. I don't know what it's like over there, but especially speaking to the head coach or the manager and just advising them, listen, we've got X, Y, and Z. We need to taper training. They're not going to be, they don't need a full pre-season because they've been playing through the Euros. They're still fit. So we'll give them, we'll just taper it back in really. And then we'll just build it back up through pre-season again. because if you're playing a lot of games, it makes sense, especially if they've not had a big time off. Now, the boys that have had a big time off, they're probably being an iron apple in the square, aren't they? Giving it the big one.
Well, I don't know. They're not like that. A lot of them a lot of them went either back home to their own countries, Serbia, Slovakia, France.
Okay, we'll take the splinters out your ass.
I'm being serious.
I'm being serious. Out your ass. That was tongue in cheek there. I was expecting you to laugh. The old black and white club.
Castles, anyway, standard.
Yeah. So
not about black and white, bloody hell. See, come on now.
No, don't worry about that, mate. That's
UK
what
garage.
it was. That's what
UK
it was
garage,
then.
man.
That's what
UK
it was
garage.
then. My missus, she was driving the scooter home. She smashed it straight into a wall. It was brilliant. It was great.
Mate, I'll tell you what. I know we're digressing here, but I was talking to Martin Lana the other day. He was one of the best garage DJs of all time, and we're going to do a show as well. I should get you on. Talk about your time.
Mate, get me on that. Get me on that.
100%.
Get me on
100%.
that. But anyway, getting back to what I'm saying, you've got to look at fatigue with these players, especially if a new coach comes in. He doesn't know the landscape. He might be overzealous. He might be trying to impress. He might trying to bully the manager and say, I know what I want, and instead of sitting down. And it's all about just speaking to the staff that are already there, if they've got any nous about them, and if they're professional enough to say, listen, can you tell me about these players? Can you tell me if their pre-medical history? Have they got any history? Have they got any problems? Have they got an instability? Have they got any muscle instability? And joint instability? Can we work on that? Every player should be given an IP plan, which I was saying to you off camera before. And they should be working on that when they're away, even if they're at the Euros, because they might not be playing. They might get 10, 15 minutes. They might play 90 minutes, but they can still do their plan where they're weak and they come back. So there's a lot of things to think about. And there's a lot of variables in there. As I said, I don't know the strength and conditioning coach, the one that was there, the second one that was there, and I don't know who they got now. But at the end of the day, you've got to look at the history and you've got to look at the landscape and see where everything is. And then you manage the situation, and then you treat everyone the same, but you manage everyone differently. So, and that's the way it is. But you don't know the player's mind. You don't know whether they're just chucking one in or they've really got a problem.
The thing is, obviously, last season I was having a debate with my co-host about the way that this team plays, and first half it was always second gear. It was never high intensity football unless it needed to be, unless they went a goal behind and then they would step it up. And my argument was, well, perhaps this team can't go an hour, 65 minutes of pressing, which is what the system is. So what you tend to find that
you got to play that, don't you? Still, you got to play that game. You have to play that game. If you don't play, listen, it's no good interrupting you. It's no good if two players want to press. 11 players have got to press, even a goalkeeper. Everyone's got to press, because if you don't press as a unit, you're going to get caught out. Yeah.
Well, my argument was perhaps they don't have the stamina levels to do it. And what we noticed is that the club went from Cypriot football, which, let's be real, the standard isn't anywhere as good as it should be. And then the club were playing Europa League football, where you're going from here to playing up here when it comes to intensity.
Even more, mate.
But there you go. So my argument was, this new guy came in, and while the players, yes, were dropping like flies, perhaps he was training them to be ready to play that level of intensity. Would that make sense?
Perhaps he was, but again, it does make sense. But for me, you need to look. I sympathise with the lad, right? But I think he's been very naive, because he knows what he wants to do and he's doing the right thing, right? He must be thinking he's doing the right thing, right? But he doesn't know his players, and he doesn't know their levels of fitness. And levels are very, very small. They're very small margins, levels. Between 1% and 5% makes a massive difference. And if you don't get the level of training right for the level of the player where he's at that time, you're in trouble, mate. You're overloading them straight away, and they'll get soft tissue problems, and then you're up shit creek without a paddle. So, but that is not just that on plus side for the lad that was there. Was he helped from the sports medicine department, from the club, from the manager, being told or was he pig ignorant and going, no, I'm doing that? And if he was pig ignorant doing that, then he deserves what he gets. But if on the other side, he should have gone, can you tell me about the players? Can I have the history of their testing for the last, how many seasons they've been here? Can I have the testing so he's got 8 players there and he's got all their testing results. You go, right, okay, he's good at that, he's struggling on that. Where's his IP plan? Let's have a look at injury prevention plan, personal one. What's he working on? Right, he's working on posterior chain, which is glutes and hamstrings, and calves. So he's working on that. What's this one? Oh no, he's got a knee problem, so he's doing a lot of loading on his knee, or we have to keep him off his loading, or he can only train twice a week, and we're doing other stuff in the gym with him. So that's what he should have done, and then he can take that into training, and then go boom, 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 and then get everyone to that level. Because mentally, if they're at that level, he can build them together. But you have to manage people differently. So if you don't speak to your department, this is a big thing with departments. Everyone's against each other now because everyone's got ego problems. So the best thing to do is work together. Everyone's there's always a shit ass in the department that will run their mouth or be a grass or something like that. But that's football for you, and they're always make problems for you. So you can have the best department in the world, but you're always going to have a few little snakes if it's not your people. So if you come in external, and you've got all these players that you don't know anything about, how can you go and put the session on at that high intensity and expect them to do it? They're going to break down, or they're not going to break down, but you don't know. So you're going in blind and you're going, yeah, they'll be all right. They're a professional club. I can do that. For me, it just stinks. So he's either been shafted or he's gone in overzealous and he's gone Billy Big Time. That's two things for me. Two things.
Fair enough. All right, well, let's talk about one of the most important players this club has at this moment in time, Kousou, who's been out with a bone edema. Now, he was in the photographs of the original training session I mentioned with the resistance bands, but he hasn't kicked the ball for the club. There isn't much information apart from, as I said, bone edema in the knee. No one knows what's going on. No one knows about the injury. Can you explain what a bone edema is first, please?
Right. So I don't know who the player is. You've told me his name, begin with G. He's got a bone edema in his knee. Season's finished. He's gone on holiday. He's come back and he's injured and he can't kick a ball. A bone edema is like a deep-seated bruise of the bone, and that can be, especially on the knee, ankle, any bony area, is a bone edema. It's a deep-seated kind of bruise in a layman's term, and it can take anything up to 3 to 6 months to kind of settle down. But it doesn't stop you playing. However, is there any other complication that you don't know about? A bone edema can come from obviously a collision. Okay, so an outside force coming in. So say, for instance, two people go for the ball, like to strike it, they miss the ball and they kick each other's bridges of their foot where the laces are. That's the most common place where players get a bone edema, there on the bridge of their foot. And it's very painful. I had one when I was playing, when I was a youngster, and it was like 3 months before it went. It was so sore. But players have them everywhere, but you get away with it because it's a bruise at the end of the day. It's a deep-seated bruise. But for me, if he hasn't kicked a ball and he's done that, again, I'm going to go back to a few things. You can't blame the player, right? Or you can blame the player. So you got double-edged sword. Is your sports medicine and performance department weak? Yeah. Have they given the right diagnostic imaging? Have they spoke to the right doctors? If you've got any sense, I'm going to be doing it 30 years. Brain-wise, I'd get a scan and then I'd make the decision, just run it through the club doctor or the consultant and then make the plan. but there's certain things that you can do to get him back playing straight away. But again, is the player playing the game? I don't know. When I mean playing the game, is he playing mind games? You don't know. You don't know. So it's not a big deal, but is it just that? Is it not something else as well which you don't know about?
I think the concerning thing as a fan is that no one knows much about it. And as we spoke off camera, in Cyprus, everyone knows something about someone that knows something, and it's scary how it's such a small world out there. So for this to be so under wraps, I don't know. I really don't.
You don't know, mate. You don't know, because at the end of the day, you've just given me a couple of words. You've said his name is beginning with G. I forgot his name.
It's a K, but you pronounce it with a G.
Sorry. Yeah. Beg your pardon. Beginning with a K, but pronounced as a G. It's a bone edema, and it's on his knee, and he hasn't kicked the ball.
Yeah.
For me.
You think it's a training injury?
Who knows, mate? Do you know what? You could sit here. We're guessing. You're guessing. You're asking me to guess. You're asking me to make something up, and I can't do that, because at the end of the day, you've said it's a bone edema, and I've just said it's a deep-seated bruise. I mean,
so you're saying it could take 3 to 6 months. So you're saying 3 to 6 months unless there's complications. So
3 to 6 months, and that's worst case scenario. That's where it's going to still hurt you, but you can still play, but it's still going to be there because it's a deep-seated bruise.
So effectively, time's a healer. Effectively,
you can have local anaesthetic. You can have everything to play games and train. It's not a problem. All my players have that. They'll go to lengths to say, "I'll do this, do that." I'll say, "No, you got to play through it, or we'll just get some local anaesthetic gel. We'll put that on it, or do this or do that to make it comfortable for you." But other than that, you just get on with it. But again, it is what it is at the end of the day. You don't know what the big issue is, and you know what people are like. Still, they tell tales and they make Chinese whispers up, and then for all we know, he could have something horrendous, and everyone's kept it under wraps.
So
because a bone edema don't keep you out, mate. I'm sorry, it really don't.
But let's just say it is, for example, there's nothing sinister going on. You mean something that he could just get back on the training field after 3 months? Is there some kind of rehabilitation?
No, of course it's rehab. He's going to be doing rehab. He's going to be in rehab every day. He's going to.
So what would he be doing? What would he be doing in rehab?
He's going to be in the gym every day, and then he's going to get up to speed where he's back on returning to training. But first and foremost, if you have a problem where you're immobilized, you have to build the muscle tissue up around the area again. All right, because your joint, say your knee joint, is only as strong as the muscle tissue around it. So you've got your posterior chain, anterior chain, so you've got your quads, your hamstrings, your adductors, you've got your calf coming up behind your knee, you've got everything going on around there. So you've got to make sure everything's strong, everything is flexible, and mobility-wise is bang on. And your neuromuscular work is key, okay? So everything's firing up properly. His cardiovascular system is bang on, and his strength and power. And then we can get him running. And then once he's up running, he's still going to be doing his gym work and his strength and stability work. And then from there, you go into some really, really low kind of like stuff, pitch-based stuff with a ball, running to start with, and then with a ball, with running, and then kind of like bringing it all down to shorter and sharper, okay, from the lengthy stuff, and then back to training. So it's not you just go straight back into it, but I'm sure he's been doing all that sort of stuff anyway. I'd like to think he has anyway.
He's a central midfielder, and I liken him to Roy Keane in the sense that he's Roy Keane in his prime. I'm talking about Roy Keane, not the back end of his United career when he fell out with Queiroz. Anyway, this guy's a box-to-box midfielder. He's a captain. He's a leader. He's very physical, and we've obviously missed him in the middle of the park. So his role in the team when he does come back, is this a case of that he's got to be very, very careful?
No, not really, because he's going to return to play. And when you do your return to train, and then you're still in the gym every day, okay, and then you return to train, you're trained for, it depends on the performance coach and the manager, how he does. You have a couple of in-house games for him and build his minutes up. And then when he comes back to play, he comes back to train, fully train, and then he'll fully train for a couple of weeks with some in-house games or some resi games, and then he goes straight back in, and he'll be straight back in again. There's no, oh, I've got to watch it. No, because that's what the procedure is. Return to train, return to play, and that's all the procedures that we put in place. So he comes straight back in, and it'll fly, because he'll probably be fitter when he comes back than he was before. But all he's got to get is his match fitness back up.
Oh, he'll be all right. He'll be right. 25 years old, he'll be fine.
He'll be fine. He's a young boy. He'll be flying, mate. Especially if I was there, I'd absolutely hammer him and get him straight back in the team.
Superb. Then you get your application in, mate.
Don't do applications, mate. I'll get phone calls.
No.
There we go.
Right. Next player, Eric Botiak, 34 years old. He's been pivotal for us the past couple of seasons. Big game player. Big game. I said big twice because he's that good. Last season, I remember he was out for about 2 months, about a month and a half with adductor problems. He had a knee injury, which lasted about 20 days, I'd say. But this season, he suffered a bruised knee in a game. I can't remember which game it was. It might have been Flora away in the Europa League qualifier. And that put him out for close to 2 months, so about a month and a half, missed 6 games. The official tagline was bruised knee, which I don't know how it could put him out for that long. But then again, we spoke about Kousou with a similar problem, so it could have been it. But now he's got a medial collateral injury, but I think it's a ruptured medial ligament. I think that's the official line.
Well, that sounds very much apparent. Which you've just been saying is an MCL tear, 1/2 for that timeline.
No, just very sorry to interrupt you there, LT, because the thing is, I messaged him earlier on. What day was it? Tuesday, and basically what happened was he fell on the knee in the last league game, and that's what he came on as a sub, and within 5 minutes he fell awkwardly on that knee, and he reckons he'll be back within 2 to 3 weeks, and he told me this Tuesday. Is that normal? 2 to 3 weeks?
So how long's he been out now? Post what?
So he was out originally for a month and a half originally.
So yeah, so say 6 weeks, and then he's come back and fallen awkwardly again.
Yeah.
And then he's got another 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's what he reckons.
It could be something inside the capsule, his meniscus, or it could be his MCL. Now, what you got to think of, your meniscus, your medial meniscus, your medial collateral ligament, and your ACL all attached together. They're attached together, right? Just to give you a bit of an insight, right? And if one goes, all 3 can go. But it's very, very. It's got to be mechanically foot fixed lateral rotation, and then you're gone, and your ACL. But then if you do your ACL, then you got most probably your MCL and your medial meniscus is toast as well. But from that point of view, there, if he was running and his knee give way, that's the meniscus lights going off. If he was twisting and turning, that could be that, or it could be his MCL, and it's where he hasn't been rehabilitated properly, and he's been brought back too quick, and he hasn't done the right rehabilitation, and the fibers haven't healed properly. So you've got for the viewers out there, you've got 3 grades. So you've got a grade 1. So say for instance, is a muscle fiber. You've got a grade 1, which will be this, which is just a grade 1 tear, right? And then you have a grade 2 tear, and then you have a grade 3 tear, which is a full rupture. Yeah. So 6 weeks for an MCL is normally a grade 1, a decent grade 1. Now, when that happens, all the scar tissue comes round to kind of bind that tissue together again. But the tissue should run like this. Now, if the tissue is like this, but like this, and then all the scar tissue goes round, it can't do that. So what happens is the scar tissue goes.
Right.
So it has to, and then you'll get issues again. But that's just a kind of like a really, really basic kind of overview of something. It needs the right rehab, needs the right treatment, needs to have strength and stability, neuromuscular power, neuromuscular strength. And
so what would that involve from a training perspective? If you're the guy that's looking after him, what would you be doing in the gym or on the pitch?
He's going to have two facets, which is going to be in the treatment room. Okay, so he'll be having treatment 3 times a day, and then he'll be having 3 physical sessions a day. One might be in the gym, one might be pitch based, one might be in the swimming pool. We don't know. I'm just saying that's the sort of thing I do. So it's somewhere fresh for him, so he's not repetitively doing things all the time, because half the time when you're long-term injured, the last thing you want to do is the same thing every day. So that's the big thing. Again, you have to look at the sports medicine department, you have to look at their practice, you have to look at their well-being practice really for the players, and how they're kind of mapping things out for them, and how they're assessing them, and what imaging they're using, and their best practice really, because at the end of the day, an MCL's an MCL. You get them back, and then they're right as rain again. They'll be stronger than what they was before. So has the player had any previous medical problems on that knee? You said he had an adductor problem. Is it the same limb? If it was the same limb, then they should have had an IP plan for him for that limb, because that could have caused all sorts of problems, because that could have been a catalyst for it. Just because a player is injured, you don't just treat the injury, you look at everything. But when players come in and in pre-season, you screen them, and you're screening players all the time still, and you're looking to see if there's any muscle joint instability, and you give them plans straight away, and you make them do them every morning, because at the end of the day, you want to give the manager 26 players out of 26 on the roster to pick from on a Saturday. So when the supporters come in their droves, they're going, oh, why can't he play? Well, he's not. Everyone's fit, but the manager ain't picked him. So at the end of the day, you've done your job, and that's what I always look at. My job ain't to pick the team. My job's to make sure that all the players are fit, and if they're not fit and they're not in the squad, then they'll be with me in the gym before the game, because they're not involved, and I'll be smashing them to pieces. So but that's it. But does he have any pre-medical history? Has he had any problems with that knee before? Honestly, there's so much that you talk about with players. It's the same with the other boy, like your midfielder, the youngster, the 25-year-old. Has he had a problem before? Has he had any other?
No, that's the thing. I think that's what I mean. Yeah, I think that's why it's a surprise to everyone.
But you know what though? Do you know when a player at that age has his first injury, his whole world ends, because he thinks, "Oh my God, I've never had a problem before. I've never had an injury. I'm panicking." But you need the right staff to deal with that, and to bring them through, and to make sure that they're going to make the right decisions and the right choices, because you can make or break that boy now, really. Yeah.
The thing is, going back to Kousou, like as I said, a lot of the websites are speculating, and they're talking about the reaction of the player, how he can cope with the rigors of the training regimen. And they're talking about it could be as you said, a direct blow to the bone, and the swelling and all that kind of stuff. And they're saying, "Oh,
you don't know though. You don't know.
They're saying maybe he could have twisted quickly, and that might have been the reason." Like you said, no one knows, and I doubt the club is going to divulge that kind of information.
The only person who's going to tell you is the player.
Yeah.
The only person who's going to tell you is the player, but it just don't sit right with me, that at all.
This is going to sound like a bit of a rhetorical question, But does the climate help when it comes to players' rehabilitation? Because in Cyprus at the moment it's 30 degrees. No,
nothing to do with it. If anything, it's better because they feel good because it's warm. I always felt great when I was when we was rehabilitating people when it was warm. Nothing like a bit of currant bun on your back, is there? Do you know what I mean? Great. It's great.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Best thing in the world.
Well, listen,
I'm here.
I'm always happy when I'm in the heat. I can't stand the cold, man. I'm not built for this shit, you know. And I've been living in England all my life, so I don't know how I cope. But yeah, I'm always in my element when I'm abroad. But yeah,
it's a beautiful country. That's why.
You been? Oh yeah, haven't you? What am I talking about?
Yeah, lots of times.
Of course you've been. I'm just trying to think of if there's any other injuries to discuss. Really, we got one from Bashru, but again, I don't know the full scale of this injury. Again, let me see if I can find some information on it. I've got this website here, and it's got loads of pop-ups, so I can't really. Oh, come here, 1 second, mate. I should have really prepared this one. Sake, it's not even loading now. But yeah,
we can do that. We can do that another time. It's no problem.
The thing is, from what I understand, he's going to be back in a week. Another muscular injury, uncertainty about the magnitude of the problem, unless he goes through his medical examinations, which he probably should have done by now. But again, no official line. The thing is, it's not like, you know, in other countries, like, for example, the Premier League, where the manager will come out and do a press conference before the game and he will talk about the potential injuries or players that are missing. They will have the press conference after the game, and that's it. That's the only press conference you will see. Yeah. The manager will give interviews to the club and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, LT, a lot has happened in Cyprus recently. I mean, a lot has been happening in Cyprus for years. But there have been a lot of questionable decisions given against my club. And a lot of it is very political, and I think Henning Berger's done very well to keep his mouth shut and keep things to himself, because there was a couple of decisions that went against us the other day, and in the press conference he says, I don't know what to say, and it was more like, I know what to say, but I'm not going to say it.
No, it's the best way to be sometimes. I know it's not right, but it's the best way to be.
Have you had any difficult coaches?
I'm just gonna leave you on this one. Mainly for the supporters, for your viewers. Don't always blame the club and the people in the club for the players' actions, because players are liars, players are weak, players will throw people under the bus. Players will get people to sack. They do not care. They're the most selfish people in the world. Now, your supporters go, oh, no. I'm telling you, I've been in it too long. Yeah? They're out for themselves. They're all out for themselves. Right? So that you've got to have that in the back of your mind. Now, these players might have an issue, which the older gentleman, the 34-year-old, the player,
Eric,
sounds like it's an MCL. But the other boy, right? We don't know what he's got. He could have something even worse than what he's got, and the club ain't said nothing. But there'd be other players on a daily basis, as I said to you before, go, oh, I don't want to train on that. Oh, I've got a sore leg, but because they're not asked. So I just want to put that out there, because that is so normal in today's game. They used to do it, but it's only people that have got savvy and the people that are in the game that just don't have it no more. But they only do it when they can get away with it with people. But I'll tell you it straight, mate. I'm not going to sugarcoat that.
Did you see this mostly from the bigger names that you've
no,
or is it mostly from just from everyone in general?
Not from the bigger names. The bigger names, all the big boys, all the big names, always want to train, always want to do the right thing, always want to eat properly. They've got structure, they've got everything. That's why they are at the world stage. They do everything right. And you only have to say jump and they jump. But you don't even have to do that, because they respect you, because you respect them, and they respect you because they're not silly. Yeah, it's the players when you come down the levels. Yeah, they think they know it all. I've been here, I've been there, and they're just arrogant, and that's why they're at that level. That's why they're at that level. So
the thing is, when I look at this team the team that I support, and I'll be 100% honest with you, I've developed a very good relationship with a lot of the players, and you could tell they're very grateful to the supporters. There's a lot of love between the players and the supporters, and they will reply on Instagram, they'll give autographs, they will sign this, and
they will still because you're media. Your media.
No.
You're not working for the club. No, I rail now about this because that every player will do that. Mostly every player, and there will be the big time ones over here that don't interact with the supporters because they think they're really big time, which is great. And then your lot there were doing that, which is brilliant with the supporters, which is great because that they don't do that over here, mate. They don't do that. They take the supporters for granted over here. But I can honestly say to you, I think that's more of an overseas thing where I've seen it, especially in the A League and in the Indian Super League and places like that, where I've seen that, because it certainly doesn't happen over here, mate.
No, not in the Premier League, no chance.
No, not even in
League
the
One,
EFL.
League Two. Yeah.
No, they're even worse. Oh, mate, honestly, unbelievable.
But see, that doesn't surprise me because I went to Cyprus last October, and there's a player that joined Omonoia in August. He signed from a club in the Middle East, but he's from Ghana, and he came to Cyprus, and I did a few Instagram videos, all that kind of stuff. We got talking, and we met up with each other, and he gave me a signed shirt for my nephew, who's a big fan of his, and I'm like, you didn't have to do that. Do you know what I mean? You didn't have to do that, but because he appreciates the support from the player, from the fans, he's now out with an ACL, but he's back in training now, which is great because it will be great to see him back on the pitch. He didn't have to do that. There are so many players that have done. I'll give you another example. There's an Omonoia youth in London, which my friend used to be the chairman of, and it's just a youth team. There's no affiliation with Omonoia in Cyprus. It's just got the same name. And they asked me, Stel, can you ask a couple of players if they will do like a Christmas message for the kids? And granted, two of them did. And they didn't have to. But I think that's the difference between players abroad, be it in the Mediterranean, be it in other parts of the world, compared to the UK. And it's a different mentality. There's a different attitude,
Different. It's a different lifestyle, attitude, and everything, really. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah.
And to be honest, this is going to sound really. You can pull me up on this one if you want, but I think that when you're a player and you're playing at a level which, okay, fair enough, you obviously want to be playing at elite level, but when you're playing at a level where you're what's the word, appreciated more, you're gonna give it more, if that makes sense.
Of course you are, 110%, 110%. Of course you are. I agree with you, 110%. Absolutely. Absolutely, because it feels like it's home, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we spoke to one player. He was on loan with us last season, Michael, and it was funny because it was the day after we won the title. Me and my mate Roy were doing a live stream, and he just messaged me. He goes, "Can I jump on?" I was like, "Yeah, go on." And he just jumps on, and he's wearing the shirt from the night before. He's still fucking all over the place, and
great, though, isn't it?
It's incredible. Right. When he turns around, he goes, "Of all the clubs I've played for, this club has the best morale, team spirit." He goes, "But the one thing, he goes, the one thing I miss, the one person I miss, he goes, is Matt Derbyshire, who'd left the previous summer." He goes, "If Matt was here, that'd have been perfect." But Matt is, while he's British, he spent time in Greece, in Cyprus. He's immersed himself with the culture.
You have to. You have
to.
I
mean, yeah. I think that's important, man. It's so important.
You have to. You have to learn the language.
Wherever you go,
do everything. I was in India. I had to. I made myself learn Spanish, and I learned Hindi, and the media. Even when I went to other clubs all over India, go on the YouTube channel. You have a look. It's phenomenal. They're all over you like a rash because you're putting yourself out, and some of our Indian boys couldn't speak English, so I just learnt the basics. And on the training pitch was signs, signals, numbers, because numbers is a big thing with us, as you know, in football. The Brazilian boys, they speak Portuguese. I didn't have a clue about Portuguese. That's the hardest language in the world. So I thought, stick with Spanish, because they might know a little bit of Spanish.
Yep.
So I weren't bad at Spanish. And then obviously I was in Afghanistan for 2 years, Arabic, and so you just do your little bit, and you get back tenfold from people, which is really, really lovely. So, but yeah.
Did you have any strange experiences in India then? I'm sure you must have seen a few things, given the size of the country.
Yeah. I've that's for another show, mate. I could tell you, I could get the book out for you for that one. Yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted either.
Unbelievable. You need to write a book, LT. I'm saying you need to write a book. The stories that you told me off air.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I know. No,
well, mate, listen.
We've got lots of them. We could speak about anything you want. You know that.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure being invited on the show for your Cypriot team. I feel honoured, and thank you very much for that. And I hope all the supporters out there for your team, green and white team, I hope they enjoy it, and hopefully one day we'll get over and come and watch a game.
I'm sure they'll invite you over, man. You can come with me if anything.
And if the president's watching, if you want the fittest team in the world, come and get me, mate.
There you go. Uncle Baba Stavro. He's an American Cypriot, so he understands every word you said there, my friend. Don't worry about it.
So we'll see. Check out www.physiofitsportsperformance.com. YouTube channel. Click all at the top. All the socials are at the top of the website. Have a look, and we'll crack on from there. Stel, you've been a top man. Thanks very much.
LT, thank you very much. Well, boys and girls, Gobelia, that was LT. This guy's an utter legend. We're going to have him back on because he's got loads of stories. So until next time, Gobelia, I'm a